industry-leading genetics, extensive local breeding and testing, top-performing products. Developed specifically for your field. Visit pioneer.com/what's next to learn more.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, a big shout-out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. The listenership of this show continues to grow, and appreciate all the longtime listeners and the newcomers as well. Today's Farmer Rapid Fire. And this means we travel across the country and listen to farmers, how they're making out in their fields. It's harvest time, baby. We got a lot happening. We're going to get yield updates from across the country, and I love it. And it's brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. They are the exclusive sponsor of the Farmer Rapid Fire. Let me tell you about Pioneer brand canola with Optimum Gly, the highest yielding glyphosate-tolerant trait on the market. What's next in canola happens here. Make sure you go to pioneer.com/Canada to find out more. Today, our guests on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we've got Ken Schaus coming out of Ontario. We got Todd Hames coming out of Alberta. Chris Marley's from Saskatchewan. Riley Anderson's in Manitoba. And we've got Greg Stops. He is in St. Mary's, Ontario, is today's Pioneer area agronomist. If you have any feedback on today's program, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or you can call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Right now we're joined by Ken Schaus. Ken, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Shaun?
Hey, pretty good. And Ken, you're in Bruce County, right?
We are in Bruce County, yes.
Okay, so they're in Bruce County. How are the crops looking?
We are very fortunate in this part of the world. Unlike some areas in Ontario where they've had a tough growing season, our crops went in the ground in good shape, and when we needed a rain, we got it, and we had some nice heat units this summer, and yeah, maybe a little bit too hot for some of the winter cereals in late May, but for the most part, it was really good.
Yeah, because there's some areas that have been less fortunate in Ontario for sure because of too much rain. It's been a little bit more variable, especially on that emergence end. So you kind of consider yourself lucky if you haven't run up against that.
Yeah, we have a tendency to be one of the drier spots from the lakeshore in towards our area. Tends to be dry, and this year, we're fortunate we've been that way.
So I guess if you look at when do you think you will be into your soybeans?
I say our soybeans are probably 10 days to 2 weeks away.
Okay.
And they're maturing very nicely. Plant health is phenomenal. And we haven't seen some of the problems like some of the other areas have fertilizer. I think the plant health speaks for itself. We're seeing even maturity across the fields, and they look good.
Yeah, Monday's show, we had Peter Wheat Johnson on, of course, and he was mentioning tar spot in the corn. Are you in one of the areas of concern, or?
Not really. So we're just far enough north from some of the areas that Peter was talking about. I was listening that day, and I did go out and looked at our most southerly fields, and for the most part, I haven't seen any. Our corn is staying green as well. We went inside dressed and we're fortunate with the cattle manure and the compost that we make. This year that's been a real bonus to the crops. Our crops have stayed very green, especially the corn.
How long have you been composting for?
We've been kind of a rudimentary type compost for probably 15 years, and then we got serious about it 4 or 5 years ago. And then everything gets composted now. So we produce about.
And what is getting serious about compost look like? I need some frame of reference here.
Yeah. So instead of saying, well, I think somebody should go out and turn that pile. We're serious about keeping track of records and carbon to nitrogen ratios and taking that manure out of the pens, at the right stage so it can compost easily. And last year we made around 12,000 tons of compost. I think we'll probably be 15 or 16,000 tons of it this year.
And what would have been the advantages of composting versus just spreading the dry manure?
Yeah, so we farm up against some pretty large acreages beside towns, like the town of Chesley, the town of Tara, right beside the town of Walkerton, in the town of Hanover, and those are all acreages that we feel should be. Well, they're very sensitive. First of all, if I pile 1,000 tons of beef manure beside our farm in the town of Chesley, for instance, there's going to be some upset people. I've got 33 neighbors along our one fence row, and if we pile 1,000 tons of compost, everybody's coming over to see if they can get a wheelbarrow full. So it's a different product. It's a third of the volume gets spread, and we put it on a cover crop as well. So we have all these nice cover crops growing right today. And, the last week of September here, they will have reached their maturity and we will go out there and spread that compost.
So if you just, with the dry manure, you just can't tell them, hey, that's the smell of money? That doesn't fly at all? No?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't fly. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's flies, all right. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's flies. I grew up in a feed yard. I know all about flies and manure. The cattle market, you are knee deep in it. You get a lot going on from a beef perspective. How are things been?
Yep. We had the strike back in the first part of summer there with Cargill, so that kind of set the province on edge. It was a lot longer than originally thought. Some thought they wouldn't have even gone out on strike. We had to send some cattle out to Alberta. I would say for the most part, the province got through it okay. If there was ever a perfect time for a strike to happen, it was when, our cattle numbers are at the lowest in the province here. So that took a bit of the pressure off. Some cattle did go out to their High River plant. We did send some out there, but it wasn't like it was a big deal for us either. I think there was 13 loads went. The grazing this summer has been excellent. We're just starting to move our grass cattle off now, and I would say by the end of this month they'll be cleaned off. We're starting to see some pretty sizable yearling offerings here as well. And for the most part, those yearling steers, we bought some this past week. They're $3,300 a piece. That's going to make the guy that has to turn around and buy a calf pretty competitive this fall. The fed cattle market, we follow along like everyone else. It went from 425 a month ago down to 415, down to 410, and that's where we're at today. And everyone is more than current. If you didn't have cattle for sale at 425 and thought it was going higher, I'm not sure what you would have been thinking, but for the most part, everyone is very current.
Yeah, you talk about that plant, because of the strike, the Guelph plant was shut down there, and it definitely caused some issues. Boy, those cattle had some miles under them, right? Feeder cattle could have come out of Western Canada, come to your place, get fed, and then have to take the route back. I thought we were never coming all the way back west again. It's not the ideal situation. You're glad there's some backstops and the ability to do that kind of stuff, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been sustainable long term. We can bring thousands and thousands of feeder cattle out of the west, but trucking a 6-weight's a lot different than trucking a 1,650-pound steer. And these cattle that have done 4 pounds a day, they've done all they can do for us, and to send them back west, we made sure that they were the right type of cattle that could make the trip. But of all those cattle that we sent, anyways, everything walked off fine. We checked the shrinks, and by far it was handled properly. I would give the company a lot of credit for the way they handled it and handled the producers' interests here in Ontario.
Yeah, for sure. As you look at this cattle market, placing feeder cattle this fall into the yard, are you Are you encouraged? Are you concerned? What's your thoughts on some of the economic viability, some of the prices that you got to pay, and what possibly some of the back end on the live market maybe?
Yeah, our own cattle that went to grass, they're all contracted out for March and time frame. The steers we're buying right today, there's a lot of money invested in them.
Yeah.
We started buying calves in the West here in the last 2-3 weeks. There's probably, I don't know how many's bought. There's a fair amount bought, and there's a lot of money tied up. It's a $250,000 a triaxle load of calves this fall.
Wow.
So it's there's a lot of risk there. I'm not so much worried about the cattle market, or it's probably something that will fly up in our face we have no control over. Yeah. Elections and trade deals, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, and for pork and beef producers, anyone in livestock, cost of feed. The audience is constantly reminding me, hey, when you talk about corn going down, you say like it's bad. It's actually a good thing for me as a livestock producer. But we seem to be kind of stabilized here on this $4 mark, especially in that Dees corn.
The crop here in the province looks really good. There will be all kinds of 200 bushel corn in our neighborhood. No one's going to get rich at it, but we put a lot of high moisture corn up, and it's the basis of part of our ration on our finishing diet. And we're going to start cutting corn silage here next week. We're fortunate. There's 5 distilleries, ethanol plants in Ontario that we pull from, and lots of other byproducts here as well. I would say our feed supplies, I don't want to see it get too cheap either, because I do grow a fair amount of corn.
Yeah, you're a cash cropper too.
Cash cropper in one hat and cattle feeder on the other. So there's a happy place there. But for the most part, I'm not too worried about the supply of feed. We've got lots of it.
Yeah. Hey, to wrap up, Peter Johnson, as I mentioned on Monday when he was on the program, talked about some of the silage yields. Some guys have been a little bit not exactly excited, sort of ho-hum. What are you expecting?
I would say our crop is as good as we've had. So
really good for you.
Yeah, like it looks very good. And you can check my Twitter site out. I'll probably put some pictures of some harvesters that you can't see the spout in. I don't know, but there's it's a really good looking crop here.
Well, I like to hear that. Well, hey, Ken, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farm Rapid Fire. Really do appreciate it. You're a busy guy and love getting your perspectives on what's going on. So thank you so much.
No, anytime, Shaun.
Hey, we'll be right back on RealAg Radio, brought to you, of course, by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
At Vaterstad, we aim to be the world's leading partner for outstanding emergence. We're doing that through innovative tillage, planting, and seeding equipment that's optimized for your field conditions and soil types. We also offer industry-leading capacities to help you get the job done in shorter windows of time. It's all designed to give your crop the best start possible so you can maximize yields. Vaterstad, we look forward to growing together.
The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to get your crop off to a great start and a strong finish. Whether you're growing chickpeas, faba beans, lentils, or peas, you'll get all the latest and best agronomic information at PulseSchool.com. A library of top-notch agronomy videos from industry experts available on demand at your fingertips. Visit the Pulse School, brought to you by BASF on RealAgriculture.com.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio for the Farmer Rapid Fire. We're now going to go to Manitoba, and we're dropping into Red River Valley, and we're talking to Riley Anderson. Hey, Riley, how's it going?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Hey, good. Hey, what's the actual town?
Morris, Manitoba.
That's right, Morris. That's right. Okay, how's harvest going?
Very well. We're caught up right now. We just had wheat, soybeans, and corn on our own farm. And so we're waiting for the soybeans to mature. And we did some custom combining for some neighbors. And now we're kind of just sitting and waiting.
Okay. And how have things been going yield-wise? Are you happy, disappointed? Just, how would you describe your rolling emotions?
Very happy.
Oh, nice.
Pleasantly surprised. How about that?
Well, that's good. Okay, so what's led to that pleasantly surprised? What's happened in your parts that maybe some others didn't necessarily experience?
Well, we have been dry the last number of years, and we switched from dry back to wet, or back to normal, as I guess I would call it. And we weren't fully saturated when it started raining, and the crop was able to get big enough that it could use the moisture we did get.
Nice. Okay. And what crops did you say you had left?
Corn and soybeans.
What's your expectations there?
Soybeans, I have high expectations. Corn, I don't know. We're going to have some very good corn yields, and there could be some subpar corn yields, just depending on where the water sat for too long and how big the corn was when it started coming and how it handled it. So that one's a bit of a wild card, but the soybeans I'm going to be very happy with, I think.
And is the reason for the soybean optimism around August moisture, or what's led to that?
Actually, we've been very dry in the back half of July and August. We did catch one shower that is going to help the beans finish, but the soybeans handled the early season moisture way better than the canola did, and there's a lot less zeros in our fields where there's no beans versus where the canola was of the neighbors' fields and even our cereals.
Interesting. Okay. How's the machinery been running through harvest?
Very good. We've had zero breakdowns on our farm so far, knock on wood.
I have my fingers crossed when you said that. Don't worry, buddy.
But yeah, no, it's actually been a very smooth harvest, and the wheat harvest went really quick, and just tweaking some things on the combine to make it work better, and we blew through our wheat in half the time of what we figured we would.
Do you figure, do you consider yourself a good setter of the combine?
I have people for that.
Okay, that's how I am too. We were talking to Trevor Sherman a couple weeks ago about combine settings, and I admitted that I feel like I'm just horrible at it, right? But there's people that's like a craft to them. It's like an art, and they're so good at it. Who's the expert on your farm?
My hired guy or partner, I guess, Tim. He's been working with us for 10 plus years, and he eats, sleeps, and breathes the combine and how to set it, and he's always trying stuff and swapping concaves and just messing with settings, always trying to make it do better. And the first couple fields he wasn't very happy with how it was set, and we did a few settings, few tweaks, and he picked up about 7 acres per hour just in changing concaves out to a little bit bigger concaves, and we could push the combine more without losing any more grain.
Wow. Yeah, because one of the ways to look at it is you spend so much time trying to get that crop, emerged and to grow, and we try to protect it through the season, and then sometimes we get a little bit productivity happy at harvest, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. There's acres per day, acres per week we got to hit. So.
Exactly, and you throw just a couple bushels, and in a market like this, every bushel counts, my friend.
Yep. Yeah, no, what you throw at the back of the combine can be the difference between red ink and black ink this year.
Well, and then you got to deal with the volunteers in the next couple of years. That's the other part of it too. It's like, it's not just the problem goes away and it's, hey, it's lost money. It costs you, because then you got a bigger problem next year when you got to deal with all the volunteer crops, and that's a problem as well.
Throwing grain out the back is a compounding problem. You created a weed problem for you in the future, and you're throwing money away this year.
So how are you looking at things? You sounds like you got a bit of a jump in your step. You're feeling good about 2024 so far, at least.
Yeah, as long as I don't look at the markets, I'm happy.
Yeah, you and everybody else, unless you got livestock, then you're like, okay, my cost of goods is going down here. I'm feeding these animals a little bit cheaper for cost of gain. But if you're a cropper, boy, you're not liking what you're seeing. Yeah,
but no, I think there's still opportunities where I am for us to make some money in the future, and us, the guys I listen to and the guys I chat with, we've basically come to the realization that we have to grow our way out of this one. We got to grow bushels to make money these next couple of years, and we have to grow crops that people want to buy, and we have to be light on our feet and not just grow the same crop because that's what we've always grown. We have to think outside the box, and if there's a specialty market that's willing to pay up, we have to look at capitalizing on it.
It is kind of it is a bit of a balancing act, isn't it? Because you've got a rotation based on what makes sense to you. Like, we like to do this after that and that after this and all that kind of stuff. But you do have to have some flexibility, and I think you make a great point. Is you have to have some flexibility. Maybe not plant the entire farm to one crop, but you do have to kind of sharpen your pencil and have a good idea. Okay, what's actually gives me the best chance to make some money? Because at the end of the day, I got bills to pay.
Yep. The number one thing about sustainability is staying here and if we're not making money, we're not going to stay here. So we have to be sustainable in the office, and we have to be sustainable out in the middle of the field. And I think the word sustainable has been hijacked by people that don't necessarily know what sustainable means. But on my farm, it means I have to be better than what I was last year. And I think getting back to the cropping side, I think we got to look at some markets. Maybe Clearfield canola is the way to go. I don't know. Maybe non-GMO soybeans, there's a premium there. Maybe that's the way to go, where you're not necessarily switching out of crops, but you're just switching your method of doing that crop.
Yeah. And you got to be you do have to be careful on some of these. Well, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Maybe we should go that way. We have seen some situations as of late where some companies lost their licenses with the Canadian Grain Commission. And some farmers, I've been hearing some bad stories about some farmers being burned financially. They're owed money. And so, that we've been doing those ads. Hey, call the Canadian Grain Commission. You got to check out too. If somebody does approach you and you've never really heard of them, or maybe they're new, do some research too. Just don't sign a contract because of the price they say they're going to pay you.
Oh, for sure. No, I have a bit of a saying on my farm. I partner with people, not products. So if you have a good feeling for the people you're working with and they have a history that is reputable, deal with them. If it's a fly-by-night guy that just showed up and you've never heard of him before, well, tread lightly. We've been burned in the past, but we always try and start small. I'll never just bet the whole farm on something that I don't trust. It goes all the way from picking seed varieties all the way through to making grain contracts. Start small and get burned small.
Yeah, well put. Hey, Riley, I'll let you get back to what you got going on there at the farm there today. I really appreciate you joining us for the Farmer Rapid Fire.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, we'll be right back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
If you have a growing list of questions about getting more from your fields, know that Koch Agronomic Services has an answer for every acre. With a full spectrum of nutrient management, nutrient protection, and seed enhancement options, Koch Agronomic Services offers a deep portfolio of agronomically effective products. Each designed to enhance yield potential, all available to help solve your problems. Find the answer that's right for your acres. Start by visiting kochag.ca. That's KOCH ag.ca.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
Since 2010, the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com has been helping farmers to grow great wheat. Covering everything from markets, the latest research, pest and disease control, all the way down to on-farm trials, the Wheat School has everything your crop needs. Check out our massive video library on YouTube and grow great wheat with the Wheat School, brought to you by Syngenta Canada, C&M Seeds, and Alberta Grains.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio. Let's go to Saskatchewan. We're going to stop in Tisdale, and we're talking to Kris Mayerle. Hey, Kris, how's it going?
Hey, good. Shaun, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I should mention also the Farmer Rapid Fire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. Okay, now, Kris, you're in your pickup right now on the side of the field. How's harvest going?
Going pretty good. We've had an earlier start than we were anticipating, so we hit the halfway mark a couple days ago. So yeah, it's going really good. Weather's been amazing. We've had a couple little short rain delays over the last, I guess, 3.5 weeks that we've been going. But it's been going really good. We haven't had to turn the grain dryer on yet. We're over half done, so that's pretty good.
Pretty good for Tisdale, right there. That's a metric. That's a KPI right there. That's a line to send.
Yeah, no kidding. It's been amazing. Yeah.
It just means you're paying less carbon tax. That's all.
That's right. Yeah. Nice change.
Okay. So yield to expectation that you had heading into harvest. Where does that sit?
Most of my crops are a little below what my expectations were based on where we were going through all of, even through July as it got drier. We had lots of rain. We had really good moisture through May and June, and kind of, fourth year in a row now, it just kind of quit raining at the end of June, and we had a half an inch only in July. And so expectations went down a little bit, but still yields are a little below that on almost every crop, I would say. The only surprise has been barley. Barley is better than what I expected.
Why would that be?
I have no idea, but based on, what I saw in some of my peas and my oats, I expected my barley to be down, and my barley was probably 10 to 15 bushels better than what I expected it to be.
Huh.
I was thinking 75, 80, and we ended up close to 100 on our barley. So
holy smokes, that's pretty good considering the year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wheat's average to just under average. Most of our wheat's been in that 55 to 75 range. We're probably going to average in the mid 60s, but there again, it looked like we had more of like a 75, 80 bushel wheat crop worth of straw that's there. So there's a lot more straw in the fields than there actually is grain. I just think it ran out of moisture and stuff just didn't fill.
I've been hearing that on canola with some growers where, they're saying I got this massive swath, but I've been a little bit disappointed when I start to see the yield monitor tick. I don't have the crop to match the amount of trash that I have.
I would say that's the same here, and we got a little bit of canola off, and we saw the same thing in some of the stuff. It's been a little bit all over the board. Canola that was drowned out from too much rain in June, that was high 20s, to canola that met my expectations pretty much of over 50, but a lot of it has been a little bit less, but not as drastic as I would say the cereal crops were. The big disaster in this area seems to be oats. Their yields are down, and they're really lightweight oats.
Well, that's what people love, light oats.
Quite a big area.
Yeah, people love light oats. That's great.
Yeah, they'll be fun to market.
As if there's not enough challenges that I also got to. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the oats are light. Yeah, I forget to mention that, right? It's sort of like when you're trying to sell a house. The basement's not finished, or there's this leak in the pipes. It's not good. That's sort of like what it's like having light oats. I know you're somebody that loves you love harvest, don't you?
Yeah, but yeah, I love it. It's the best part of the year. I mean, you finally kind of see what you've worked for all year come to fruition, and you're out there taking it off, and you get those big crops. Like, we did a field of canola the other day, and you get the number off the grain cart, and you're like, holy, that bit over 50. Like,
Yeah.
but then you go to the next one, and it's way below your expectations. So it's a really up and down roller coaster some of these days.
Yeah, no kidding. And of course, you're a seed grower, so you've got some commercial fields, but you've also, when you're taking care of those seed fields at harvest time, a little bit different than the commercial grower. You're spending a lot of time cleaning out combines, and if anybody grew up, if you spend any time on a seed farm, combine cleaning, not fun.
No, like, so yeah, we do a lot of rotational stuff with our combines to try and minimize, contamination. Yeah, we blow them out lots, but like I said, today I've got 6 combines rolling, but they're in 3 groups of 2, and they're all in different products, so that we're not cleaning out combines as often. So all 3 sets of 2 are in different varieties of wheat today. So
do you use water at all, or are you just using air?
no, we use air. We just use air, and we use other crops. So for an example, one set of combines was did barley, and then we did canola, and then we did a blowout, and then we did lentils, did another blowout, and then we went back into wheat. So that's that's part of the reason that we're sometimes running groups of 2 or groups of 3 instead of all 6 together, is it just we can jump around from crop to crop. There's not very many times on this farm when I got all 6 combines rolling in the same field. They're always in something different, because we had between, I think, 30 different varieties of crops on my farm this year.
That's logistics, big time complexity right there. Keeping all those 6 machines running, has that been pretty good, or have you had some issues and challenges when it comes to some of the equipment?
We've had a few issues and challenges. Probably our biggest challenge this year is we've had a lot of cereal crops that are down bad. And so we're cutting on the ground. We're definitely getting more damage in our headers, picking up more rocks. And the guys were joking the other day that we got 6 45-foot rock pickers running across the fields. So it's that's been a bit of a challenge. There's been a bit more breakdowns because of that. Going through a few more header parts than we were expecting to. But yeah, we're down to about we'll just about be done cereals. We got one more day and we'll be done cereals. So then it'll be into better standing canola and swath canola. So that'll be a lot easier even on the operators. It'll be a little less stress.
There's no bigger relief in running a combine than you're sitting there. The swather driver's dealing with some downed crop, and he just can't get a nice swath, and he leaves these big piles, right? And that pile goes through the machine, and you sit there and you're just like, please go through. You're like, yes, on to the next pile, right? It's that's harvest on a down crop.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same when you get into the cereals and you're straight cutting and you're cutting right on the ground and you're picking up some of those rocks and nuggets that you didn't even think were there, and you ever think, wow, I got way more rocks in my farm than I thought I had. So, or we just found every one of them with a combine, I guess. So
when you've got 2 machines in a field, you've got 1 grain cart going between those 2 machines. So you're running 3 grain carts for the 6 combines.
Yeah, we're running 3 grain carts and 6 trucks. So we run everything on our farm goes through our grain carts. So everything is scaled in. So we know exactly what we have coming off every field going into every bin.
Nice. That helps. Well, hey, that it provides a little more accuracy when it comes to the marketing side of the equation on something like a commercial crop. But even as a seed grower, you got a little bit of a better idea what's going into the plant.
Right. I know pretty much exactly what I have for bushels of every variety by the end of harvest, and it helps a lot even with just our record keeping crop insurance, for an example. They love that we've been doing this for years and years, and in most cases they'll take my weights over doing bin measurements in a lot of years.
Do you have all your yield? Do you have all that stuff digitized, or do you got it on
it's all digitized.
You do, eh? Wow.
Yeah, so everything is coming right now. So we're using an agromatic systems in all our grain carts.
Yep.
It's all real time. As soon as the field's done, or any time that the guy's in a field, I can look it up from my phone and see exactly how much they put in every bin. And then that goes right back to my cloud. Then my office manager can pull that off and keep all that. And she has all those numbers entered in already that we've combined today.
I was going to say, you set all that up?
With some help from some guys and some extra help from outside the farm.
I like it. Okay. Hey, before we wrap up here, the marketing side of the equation, that's been a bit of a topsy-turvy, a little bit more down than up. Tough market.
Yeah. Another one of those years where you look back and, 2020 hindsight, should have sold way more grain earlier, but I don't know. I think it'll come around. I mean, we're going through some political stuff with China right now on the canola side of it. I don't know. China's great at playing hardball in some of these situations. And for them, if, them saying they're not going to take canola has pushed the canola market down lots. And in the last couple of days, it's up and down. It's such a topsy-turvy market right now. Like some days it's up 20, down 20 every day. Like it's crazy. But to their credit, they're probably buying canola at a little cheaper price. But, it'd be nice to see our federal government stand behind the agriculture a little bit stronger. And some of these tariffs, I don't know, my personal opinion is that not that many people are buying enough EV vehicles that it really matters that you're putting a tariff on trying to keep Chinese EV vehicles out of here. But I think China's going to come around. They need our canola. And they want our canola, but I mean, they're just playing hardball over this tariff situation. The wheat markets, they're up, they're down. They've been coming back up a little bit the last few weeks. So from where we were, 3 weeks to a month ago, wheat is up a little, up some more. Probably we're up another, 25 to 40 cents a bushel from where we were 3 weeks ago. So it's maybe on the right trend. And I think once harvest gets done and some of these yield numbers come out to show the real numbers, I think maybe the market doesn't have all that figured in. I think our canola crop's going to be smaller than was expected. I know they've dropped it a little bit, but I still think it's probably going to be smaller at the end of the day. And that's, talking to other producers, marketing guys, brokers. Yeah, they're starting to see that trend now that yields are less than what was the market had figured in.
Yeah, you figure about the middle of June. I was one of the people saying I think we're going to have a bigger crop than people were estimating, and now we're definitely on the we're lower than what I think people are estimating. I'm right there with you. Hey, Kris, thanks so much for joining us here today in the Farmer Rapid Fire.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Hey, great stuff. That is Kris Mayerle out of Tisdale, Saskatchewan. Okay, we'll be right back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Whether you're in a career within an organization, starting your own business, looking for your dream job, running your own farm operation, operating a company in ag or food, or want to hone your overall life skills, this conference is for you. Celebrating over 10 years of bringing women in ag together, join the Advancing Women Conference in Niagara Falls on November 17th, 18th, and 19th. Visit advancingwomenconference.ca for more information and to register.
Peter Johnson at RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Marwayne, Alberta. We're talking to Todd Hames. Todd, it's great to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Shaun. It's exciting to be back.
So, Todd, give us a bit of an update. What have you combined so far?
I've combined my peas, and then my cereal crops are all in the bin. Okay. And we're waiting on some canola. Canola, I'm standing canola, so it's not quite ready. We did a test yesterday. It's coming there, but it's not ready. And we've got some canola that received some rain, so it's later yet.
Okay. On the wheat front, was the protein lower than you expected, or where was the quality at?
Actually, I haven't had my quality tested yet, but I assume proteins are going to be higher than normal.
Okay.
Because of the lower yields. And so we'll use, I've heard some stories of some really high proteins, but there's so much variability in the crop this year. We're seeing it just quite variable from, just a few miles away. There's some pockets, if you didn't receive any rain, yields are really disappointing. If you had some moderate rain, you've got maybe, an average yield that you're sort of happy with. And if you happen to be in a rain pocket, you might have a decent yield, but nothing's breaking any records on the yield side.
Yeah, a lot of variability out there. And I would say if I was to broad brush it, like super broad stroke, for most of the Western Canadian farmers that have been on here, when we talk about yield expectation coming out of that hot July, obviously they reduced from where they were in June, but even considering that reduced expectation on yield, they're still finding the combines telling them even lower than that. Has been kind of the broad average. Would that be conducive to what you've seen?
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing that. Yields are disappointing. We weren't expecting bumper yields.
Yeah.
And because they're so variable, like my barley crop, for instance, I think we're seeing lightweight barley, and that's a big drop in the yield. Barley more sensitive to that heat than wheat. Mm-hmm. Wheat has stood through it probably better than the other crops. And so we're just seeing that, and of course the ground, depending on, any sandier soils or soils that aren't as good, definitely seeing, bigger drops in yield.
I'm interested what the canola is going to yield. Like, yeah, it's so hard to figure it out, right? Like until you get that combine out there, you bloody well don't know.
And I've heard some canola yields around here, and there is some. I thought we'd be in the above 40, and hopefully pushing some 50s, but I've heard some 30s around here, and I think what's happening is that heat blast has taken quite a bit of the flowers, just didn't produce anything on the main stem, and so even though the crop sort of looks like it's there, I think what it is the plant is missing that main stem pods, which is the primary yielder. That's your big yielder, is that primary stem. And I think the branching and other, the top flowers or the pods are there, but it's that the main yield is not there. So I think that's where we're seeing this, maybe a larger drop in canola yield than expected.
Yeah, this is a year where if you were able to get some of that parametric insurance, which is insurance based on days over 30 or, whatever the policy is, it would have paid out this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been the year has been strange right from the get-go. We just come through a winter with no snow.
Yeah.
And then we got the moisture in May and June to look like we were off to the races. And then summer arrived in July and really cooked us for a month.
Yeah, we're sort of like, in auto racing, like F1, we were off to the races, like we're off the start line, we get to turn one, our tires haven't heated up, and we just sort of blew through the corner and crashed. That's sort of what we were like in July.
And it's, summer just didn't feel like summer this year because it arrived so late. And then when it got here, it got so hot. And then all of a sudden we're in August and we're harvesting, and it just seems like the year has been very, very different for a feel.
How about on the marketing front? What have you been figuring out there, Todd?
I'm figuring I'm losing money, Shaun. Really the marketing thing is more of a disappointment than the yield. I think farmers are used to the yield, being variable, and we can't control that. So you kind of, that's what farming is. And, we can't always have a bumper yield, but I think the bigger hit really to us right now is that, we've seen a 20% drop in the crop prices from spring to now. And spring wasn't high as it was probably 20% lower than what it was a year earlier or just through the winter. So I think that's the most significant, challenge to producers is going to be this combination of, I'm going to say not probably disastrous yields, but lower yields combined with significant drop in commodity prices.
Yeah, we saw exactly that in our July results of our Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index. Both current and future farm financial performance were an 84 out of 200, right? So pretty much describes what you're saying there. I think there is profitability concerns this year for sure.
We're definitely into the break even or below break even for farms at these current prices. And I mean, we've seen this before. I'm going to say it's not new, but it's been a few years since we've seen, probably this combination. I mean, that's not true for the whole province. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but in our area, we've had some good crops over the last number of years. We haven't been as affected by the severe drought in 21 that some regions did or struggle with. I mean, drought has been been around the province for the last few years. We've managed to escape it until this year, and it's not. Well, some crops are disasters here, but it's not generally. People are going to have something in the bins, but certainly less than they're used to.
So once you get that canola off, any fall plans, projects you're trying to get done or taken care of before the snow starts to fly? And hopefully that's not for a while, but believe me, it's not in the next 2 weeks, I hope. But any big fall projects?
No big projects. The regular fall work, we always harrow or prepare the fields for next year's cropping with straw management, making sure we're getting any material spread out as evenly as we can. So there's that harrowing and straw management. Then we usually, we're going around and fixing any problems in the fields. So we see some, ditching or whatnot. I mean, obviously it's not too wet this last year, so no one's really been flooding out too much. But sometimes those falls, you can actually get ahead on some of that stuff because it is drier. The other thing we're really seeing, Shaun, that I've never seen before is kochia. We have kochia problems, and that's a new one for me.
Yeah, we'll have fun with that. I've been dealing with that our whole lives in southern Alberta. Have fun with that, Todd. You don't know what you're in for. Not fun.
No. You better come up and show us because I didn't even realize really what it was, but I was looking at it first, and I think we've had it for a couple of years, didn't really, but I don't know if conditions were right this year. I talked to some people in the oil industry, because of the oil leases, we were just seeing kochia all, on the outsides, and they said it's really bad this year. So I don't know if it's just the right weather for it or what, but we've got a kochia outbreak that I've never noticed before.
And herbicide resistance comes, it's definitely an issue with kochia that farmers have been dealing with. And also on top of all of it, my hay fever hates it beyond belief. And it creates a harvest mess too, because it's these great big green evergreens coming out of the crop. So that's definitely a challenge. And it itself has been spreading geographically. And so it's interesting it's in your area there outside of Lloydminster as well. Hey, Todd, thanks for joining us here this week on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Shaun, and good luck with the rest of the fall and talking to farmers. I appreciate what you're doing for the ag industry.
Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Okay, we'll be right back here on RealAg Radio. Today's Farmer Rapid Fire, of course, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Apply anhydrous ammonia and protect your application earlier than normal this fall. Defend against potential losses and protect your bottom line with Centuro Nitrogen Stabilizer. Patented active ingredient Pronitridine offers agronomically effective protection where it matters most, below ground. Easy to handle Centuro is also non-corrosive for fewer worries about downtime or equipment damage. Start early with Centuro as part of your nitrogen management plan. Contact your local retailer or visit centuro.ca for more information today.
RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hepner and Lindsay Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern, and don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. And welcome back to RealAg Radio. It's now time to continue the Farmer Rapid Fire. We're going to go back to Ontario. We're going to be in St. Mary's, Ontario, and we're talking to Greg Stopps. He's a Pioneer area agronomist, of course, with Pioneer Seeds Canada. Hey, Greg, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me, Shaun. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Now, you were down at Canada's Outdoor Farm Show earlier today. Some beautiful weather. I'm assuming pretty good crowds. What were you hearing from some of the farmers coming through the Corteva site there?
Yeah, so it's been a great 2 days. I've been back down at the farm show the first 2 days of it. It's been beautiful weather. It's been a good show. Lots of people out. Lots of talk about how good the crops are generally looking in Ontario, despite some challenges. Certainly things are moving along too. Lots of chatter about kind of getting going at silage and some of the edible bean crops out there. How quickly the soybean crop is turning, and lots of talk about, of course, some of the diseases that we're starting to see across a wider area in Ontario, diseases like tar spot, that have really kind of shown a much wider geographic spread, and really kind of started to hit home in areas that they haven't touched before.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to be able to tour farmers through, so, and show some of the latest and greatest technology that the company has to offer. And so I wasn't able to make it this year, but it is one of the farm show highlights of the year for sure. You mentioned disease, and one of the diseases we've been hearing about more and more over the last few days is tar spot. You mentioned it is showing a little bit of a wider geographical spread. Peter Johnson was talking about it on Monday's show. What are you seeing out in the field?
Yeah, so I cover a large area north of London, Ontario, so kind of southwestern, south central Ontario. In the last couple of years, right, our area has seen tar spot, but it's typically been low pressure late in September. There's been enough kind of infection, but not enough to drive real impact, right? Enough to probably give us inoculant for following years and overwintering of the disease. And that's part of the problem, right? The folks south of London have experienced this before and seen some of those real impacts. But now you're seeing all of us kind of north of London, all of southwestern Ontario enter into that kind of zone where we've got the disease, we've got the overwintering pressure. And if conditions are right, like they were this summer, especially kind of through the area I cover in Huron and Perth and a little bit of Bruce too, they really were kind of conducive for that early infection. And we started seeing that back in July, right? We first kind of found some, it might have even been very end of June in some research plots, right? Positive IDs came through early July in some of Albert Tenuta's work, and through that IPM pipe kind of system, right? And it kind of took off from there. Not crazy everywhere, but it definitely sort of put a lot of pressure on things. And we're talking about it a lot now, this last week or two, because we're seeing kind of some of those big effects. But certainly as an industry, we got out there and pushed that message with growers to consider getting that tar spot application if they were already seeing it as they scouted through July. Hold off if they could till that ideal timing at kind of VT, R1. If you can, kind of spray when you can get that tassel and the fresh silks out, because there's a lot of those tar spot products that offer control, but they also offer suppression of gibberella ear rot, which is another disease issue that's always a kind of a threat year in, year out in southwestern Ontario. And what we've seen is that growers who kind of utilize that program, who heard that message, their fields are still pretty healthy. Those fungicide programs really did work well. And they're not seeing levels of infection that are a concern. They're seeing some level of infection today, and some of that is continuing to spread because we've got environment that's still conducive for the disease and its kind of polycyclic nature. And that could threaten late season standability, but won't likely threaten much of our yield component at this point. So most growers are sitting in an okay spot, but we're going to see those differences, sprayed, unsprayed. We're going to see those genetic differences that are really real as well, where, you know, a hybrid that's tolerant to tar spot or more tolerant to tar spot under unsprayed conditions is not going to lose as much yield as those that are weaker on tar spot, right? There's a lot of plants out there that, you know, are dead and they're weaker on tar spot and they don't have the fungicide on them either. So 2 strikes against the system where didn't pick good tolerance, didn't do the management piece, and it's going to show this year, right?
Yeah.
So my hope is growers learn from that as they go forward, plan on kind of utilizing the right genetics, and that's not necessarily that you got to find bulletproof tar spot genetics, but then counting on application of fungicide and management to get us through that.
Yeah, this is one of those years where we prove the disease triangle is a real thing, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Greg, really appreciate you joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. All the best to you. Enjoy the rest of the farm show, and thanks so much for being our guest today.
All right, no problem, Shaun. Thanks so much for having me on.
That's all the time we have today for the Farmer Rapid Fire. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms. You're also more than welcome to call the Real Ag feedback line. Now, that number is 855-776-6147. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio, and a big shout-out to everybody at Pioneer Seeds Canada. Make sure you go to pioneer.com/Canada to check out their great canola, soybean, and corn products. Cheers, everybody.